continue to watch this series. It's very educational if you're looking to learn a trade or to do something simple at home. Alright, Building with Papa. I hope this helps. We're going to be doing metal framed wall, then installing a pocket door frame. These are the tools you're going to need to use. We have a 4-foot level here, which has a magnetic end, so it'll attach to the metal studs. We have a framing square. This is a 2-foot framing square. A Sharpie, a pencil, 2 different types of aviation snips. Now they make a newer one that has a longer nose, and I used one of my guys and it worked really well. There's a clip to be able to, a clamp to be able to clamp the studs together when you screw them. Tape measure, a different type of square, and then you have the impact driver for the screws, pair of gloves so you don't get cut. Now the small screws here are 7/16 framing screws. We're using them because the framing that we're going to be using, which is common for interior work, would be 25 gauge. And then we have the drywall screws, and when we attach a metal stud to wood. Okay, there's a magnet on this table. Now, if anyone can respond and tell me what video I used this magnet and how it was used, quickly respond, send me an email or just a comment on this video, and you will receive a prize. Thank you. Okay, I just wanted to show you where the lines are, where I stopped the 2x4, and if you see in the opening, I went ahead and wrote the header height. This is the rough opening height, okay? And on the pocket door, it's 84.5. You saw the swing door was 82, and the header for the opening is 80.5. Even though they're all different sizes, when it's completely finished, they're all going to line up and be the correct height. They will all line up for the header of the doors. Okay? This is part of your layout. You need to know what to make the height so everything works together. Okay, this is the material that you're going to be using for framing. Okay, now this is 3 5/8. It's most common for building interior walls. This is called the track. The track has 2 legs, and it's called a U-track. This is what the studs are going to slip into. How to do the layout. So now we're going to start the framing. This is considered residential, and so I put 2x4 PT down first. It works great with the trim, and it really works out very well. So now this is where we have the pocket door. You don't put PT 2x4 down where the pocket door actually sits. The track has to be all the way down to the ground so the pocket fits in it. Well, then the rest, we put the metal track on top of the 2x4s. Alright, now I'm going to show you how we cut the bottom track, and when you install it, some people will put a small piece right there, and that's not the proper way to do it. What you do is you use a splice cut. The splice cut will give you metal all the way around that end stud, and this way when you go to install your studs, it will come out and better and make it easier to make that stud square, and makes a really good corner. Okay, so let me show you how I do this. You can mark it with your square before you cut it, but you know, when you're trying to do work on a job site and making some production, Once you start doing this, you'll be able to look at it by eye and be able to make your cuts. Metal is very forgiving because this is just the bottom track, and you'll be able to put your stud in and move it right to the layout lines so that it'll be what you need. All right, so here we're going to cut the splice. All right, now you cut to the inside of where the other 2x4 intersects. Make your cut down. Then when you bend the tab, and now when you go to cut with a semicircle. It makes it easier to cut. Bring it all the way to the end. Okay, if you can't go all the way to the end like that, you get it close, pull the metal, it'll come right off. Okay, now this will go down, and then your other track intersects, and it makes a nice little pocket for your stud to sit in. It's going to make that end nice and square, and that's what you're looking for. All right, now we're going to cut the other end, and it's just a regular cut. This is going to be the end of the wall. You go ahead and cut it. You see I'm just eyeballing it. If you need to mark it, you mark it. It's no big deal. Eventually you'll be able to move forward just eyeballing it. Now when you do make these cuts, sometimes you get a curve on the end of the metal. Okay, and it won't sit flat on the ground or the 2x4, so you can just trim it right off very quickly, or hammer it. All right, so now all the bottom track is cut. And now what I like to do is I like to make all my top track before I start to put the studs in. I get all my top track cut and ready to go in. So I already did the splice on this top track, so I could show you. Now this is the full length. You see I kept it square on both ends. You'll see why when we start the framing. And then you can do have the last piece, and it's cut with the splice also. This way when I start framing, all these are already cut for me. I don't have to stop and do anything. All of this is going to make your production much quicker by the end of the day. In the beginning it may look like you haven't accomplished much, but I'm telling you, you will be faster than anybody else if you do this. Be prepared. Set everything. And then I'm going to do the headers. Now I'm going to show you how to cut the headers. Now I like cutting them ahead of time so that when I start framing my walls, I don't have to start recutting things. It's my preference. You don't have to do it that way. You could go ahead and put all the studs up, get all your uprights in, then come back and do your headers and your cripples. Okay? But I'm going to show you two different types of headers. I'm going to show you how to cut two different types of headers. I used the square and I made the black mark across, so I cut everything just right. The two types of headers I'm going to show you, one's called a shoe header. Okay, and it has to do with the track, how you cut it, and how it attaches to the stud. The other one I'm going to show you is an ear header. And the reason you use an ear header is like in an opening. Because now when you put your studs up and you put the header across, if you use a shoe, you have screws in the way, you have more metal in the way. When you put the drywall up, it makes that top of that opening smaller than the rest. That's where a lot of guys make mistakes. Shouldn't be like that. So I'm going to show you how to cut the ear header first. Okay, you come through, cut to your black mark. Your black mark is the opening itself. I had already cut the lengths. I cut about 2 to 3 inches longer. Okay. It creates an ear tab on each side, which will slide up into the stud, and you'll screw it in there. It won't cause a lot more metal inside the opening and cause your drywall to bulge out, and then, which happens a lot of time, makes the top of the opening smaller than the rest. Now if you're just having a walkthrough, all right, it's not great, but it would be okay. But this, if you were to make this a bifold, okay, a bifold opening, then yes, that would cause a problem. When you put your bifold in, one side's going to be closer to the drywall than the other when you put your door in plumb. Okay, that's your ear header. Okay, your ear header. That's going to go in the opening. Now I'm going to cut the shoe header, and that's the same thing. I put the 3 inches, okay, give my mark for the measurement of the opening, and another 3 inches. Now I want these to be square, so I check carefully where I have my Sharpie mark. Okay. Now this is the shoe. Fold it back, back up. Okay? Same with this side. Fold it down, back up. Now, this one's going to go into the studs. This is for the pre-hung pocket door. Okay? This little bit of extra metal there is not going to hurt because we have a jamb going in which has some space, so it won't hurt you. When you don't have additional space, you want to do the ear header. Okay? All right, well, let's get to the rest of this.